What's up, guys? To day one of the European Championship, and the pairings just got published like an hour ago. I'm playing against a Serbian player who is my age. He has a rating of around 2,200. I think he's a FIDE master, but yeah, first rounds are always tough from a psychological perspective, at least for me, because there's somehow lots of pressure on you to win the game, because everything else would be would be somewhat of a disappointment. But yeah, I'll try not to let it get to me. And yeah, I have the white pieces, so I'm just finally deciding which systems to play. I already decided on the first move. I'm gonna play knight f3, which is my main weapon now, especially against weaker opponents, I would say. And yeah, but I still need to figure out what exactly to do against the King's Indian. I have two possible options at my disposal. But yeah, in the morning I went for breakfast, then I went for a walk with my friend Valentin Dragnov, and it's pretty nice. I think I've already mentioned yesterday that we're right next to the beach, and we went for a walk there. And the weather's really nice. You can even walk without a jacket outside. So yeah, as I said, it's nice to escape the winter from Central Europe and get some sun still once the winter finally breaks in. But yeah, I'll try to decide as soon as possible, then go for lunch, and the game starts at 3 p.m. So looking forward to it. I hope the tournament will start well for me. And yeah, other than that, I'm feeling good. I'm really motivated to show my best in this tournament. So yeah, I'll see you guys after the game in the recap.
All right, guys, welcome to the recap of the first round. And it was a super tough game. I was extremely lucky not to lose the game. And yeah, let's see what happened in the game. I want to start off by saying, just briefly explaining like the whole conditions in the playing hall. I have to be a bit harsh here because I was very disappointed, to be honest. I'm not just saying this because I played a bad game. But because it was actually quite ridiculous, in my opinion. The boards are like, I mean, really small. You're sitting and you're almost cuddling with the person that is sitting next to you, and yeah, that's the first issue. You don't have any space basically. At least with the normal boards, if you're playing on the top four boards, I think you have a lot of space. But yeah, 99% of the players I think are suffering from this, and I think it would be, of course it's hard to get so much space. I mean, space is limited, but yeah, this is, I was not very happy about. Then at some point there was no water. There's like this water tank usually where you can just take a cup and get some water there, but it was just empty and took forever to um, that they brought some more. So I was also a bit yeah, frustrated about this. And then two more things which the organizers I think don't have anything to do with, but the playing hall was just at many points it was smelling just so bad. I think it was just because of some people. So again, this has nothing to do with the organization, but that was also not fantastic. And I was about to say one more thing. Yeah, many players, like there were people coughing all the time. Like some person, I will not name the name now, but some person was almost dying. Yeah, like was coughing and making some completely disgusting noises, almost next to me. So yeah, again, the organizers, it's not their fault, but I was quite annoyed by this, and I'm honestly a bit afraid of getting sick just because I mean, always at these tournaments for some reason, so many people are sick, and I think many chess players in general just don't have really that great of a hygiene. Just speaking completely honestly, and therefore all of this bacteria is just flying around the playing hall. No one is like holding their hand before they're like in front of their mouth if they're sneezing or coughing. So yeah, this is just frustrating. But yeah, That's part of chess. I have to just one more thing before we go to analysis. All of these things during the game, I even found it hard to concentrate because I was like, why am I even doing this? If the conditions are like this, and I just don't think it's fair because it's a European Championship, and I mean, yeah, it's a European Championship. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it should be just like absolutely amazing conditions in my opinion, but that's how it is with chess. There is not that much money, but yeah, it's just a bit frustrating. But let's have a look at the game. I started with knight f3. He played d5, which surprised me a little bit, and I went e3. I'm mostly prepared for the King's Indian, honestly, because that's what he mostly did. But yeah, he surprised me with d5. And here I went e3. I was briefly thinking before the game, after d5, what I would do. I actually didn't decide. I thought either e3 or g3. But then I spontaneously decided on e3. And he just immediately went for the Slav, which he never played in his life before. Here, as you can see, I was spending some time here because I just wanted to decide which system I want to play. I stick to my main thing with bishop d3, where now the point is if black wants to go for the Miran with knight bd7, now I play knight bd2. And, or actually castle here, I think. Castle, and then if bishop d6, knight bd2. And yeah, the knight is better on d2 than on c3 often, because if dc4 comes with the knight on c3, bishop takes c4, b5, b4 often comes sitting the knight on c3. So this is the whole idea. But he went bishop e7, which is generally considered to be somewhat of a passive move. I went knight bd2, which now probably doesn't make that much sense, because if I would go for this Miran now with the bishop on e7, then if he goes for this typical plan, let's say with castle, dc4, bishop c4, b5, now with the bishop on e7, this probably doesn't work as well, because black doesn't have this idea with the central e5 break often, and the bishop is just worse on e7. So I think I should have just gone for knight c3 instead. I went knight bd2, short castle, knight bd7, b3, b6. And yeah, I could have gotten the same position with the knight on c3, which would have probably been a bit better than with the knight on d2. Here went queen e2, and he went for c5, and I thought I had to be better somehow here, but it's actually not that easy. I played rook fd1, which is still good. And after cd4, I quite quickly took back e4, thinking that I have to have some advantage here because he spent 2 moves to play c5. And I thought there are even some positions where black is basically a tempo up, but probably I'm mistaken in that. And yeah, after e4, the position just turns out to be equal, and he played it really well. After that, I think it's already black who is probably, at least practically, has a bit of a nicer position. Instead, I should probably take knight takes c4, which I briefly thought about, but after knight c5, I did not really know what to do. Turns out I can just go bishop c2, and his queen on d8 is probably somewhat of an issue, doesn't know where to go, and my rook on d1 is already placed nicely, and I guess I can kick out the knight on c5 sooner or later with b4 as well. So this would have been a way safer continuation where I still have some pressure. But I took back e4. Now he took dc4, which also surprised me very much that he's taking right away, but turns out it's fine. dc4, queen c7, and at first I thought I can just go d5 here, which is the typical break, because now you cannot take back ed because the bishop on e7 is hanging. But I started calculating, and after knight c5 I actually didn't see anything, and it could be that I'm just worse here. At least that's what I thought in the game, and it's also what it turns out to be. I still thought of bishop e8, but here queen d7 I thought during the game, and my attack is just not going anywhere. It looks nice with these bishops, but my pawn structure is now pretty vulnerable overall. So I went rook c1 first, rook c8, and now again I was thinking about d5, but again knight c5, and yeah, again bishop e5 I was thinking about, but again just queen d7. Turns out white can try knight e4 here, but still the position is equal. After taking everything on e4, takes queen d7 or queen d6 here, and it does look a bit dangerous for black, but he can always defend the pawn on g7, for example, after queen g4, g6, and yeah. So I went bishop b1, rook e8, another good move, knight f1, and here I struggle to find the plan, because usually the idea is to go knight e5, but I simply don't have enough of an attack here. Knight takes e5, d takes e5, knight d7, And if I manage to get my pieces around to the king side, it's quite dangerous for him, but I'm just way too slow for that. So now he has the better pawn structure, and I don't have any attack. Whenever I'm threatening something on h7, he can just go g6 probably. And yeah, I still thought about this knight e4 move, for example. If I get knight d6, it's could be a bit dangerous for him, but I thought, strategically speaking, now bishop e4 is always a strong move, and after queen e4 g6 just. And now I really don't have any attacking possibilities at all anymore. And yeah, the pawn c4 is a long-term target. And I think that black would be better there. So I played it slow, bishop e1, rook e8, knight f1, knight f8, and here I went for knight e5, which is already a mistake, and black is already better. I should have gone for knight e3, but I did not really like queen f4 here, when he's threatening to take on f3, ruining my pawn structure. And yeah, if knight e5, now I think, now again, knight g6 it was here, and I think this was what I didn't like. And yeah, the queen is quite active here. Also, knight g6 right away. I was also not so sure about this. I checked it briefly. g3 is the computer move, but I never really wanted to go g3 because it just weakens this diagonal severely. I don't know, maybe black can already go for something like bishop a8 and queen b7. Doesn't look that nice for white. But I went knight e5, knight g6, knight e3 now. And now bishop d6 was very strong. If he takes now on e5, now I think the story is a bit different with the knight already on e3, because I thought here I have quite some things. Even knight d5 was a possibility. I thought, at least practically, some position like this, maybe this is somewhat playable. For me, at least, looks dangerous. But also the knight on e3 is generally a pretty good piece. And I thought here I do have some attacking possibilities. Actually, after knight d7, sorry, here there was bishop h7. This was the main thing. King h7 and now queen d3. King g8, queen d7, and I won a pawn. You cannot do it the other way around. If queen d3 first with the double attack, black still has knight f8. But bishop h7 was the move I was seeing. But bishop d6, I now realized I actually don't really have anything. Even knight g6 I was not sure about. I went for bishop g6 because here bishop h2, king f1, and after hg, g3, the bishop might get trapped. Even this might still be good for black because often he can just sacrifice the bishop here. But I also thought fg is possible, and after g3 now, trapping the bishop, he has ideas with rook f8, and I thought this is already pretty bad for me. So I had to go for this ugly move, bishop takes g6, hg6, and now obviously black is just better with the bishop pair, and bishop on b7 is just really strong. I went h3, rook d8, and this stage of the game my opponent just played perfectly. Bishop a1. I was thinking maybe I can get queen b2 at some point with some ideas on this diagonal, but he just went queen e7. Now a4, because queen b2 now fails due to bishop a3. a4, knight h5, another strong idea. He's going for the attack now. Knight f4 is his idea. Knight d3, stopping knight f4, bishop b8 now. Another amazing idea by him. Queen b2, and now he didn't go queen c7, but queen g5. Queen c7, my point was that now I can go knight e5. And if f6, knight g4, and I did not see for him how to continue, because after f5 I always have knight e5. I thought I'm somewhat alive there still. But he went for queen g5, queen b5 now, queen h4. It turns out f5 is even stronger, when the queen will probably get kicked out with bishop c6, and then the f-pawn even joins the attack as well. But he went queen h4, now d5, and here knight f4 was inaccurate. But queen e4, the best move currently, not very easy to spot. Knight f4 seemed logical, and I already missed that with queen b2. The only way for me was knight takes f4, queen takes f4, and now d takes e6, which of course, as a human, looks extremely dangerous, just allowing queen h2 check. And apparently it's around equal, but yeah, this is just, especially with being low on time, this was not easy to find. I went queen b2 instead, threatening mate on g7. He went f6, and I took on f4 and went g3. And after that, I'm just lost. The only move was queen b1, which yeah, is also not that human, quite frankly. I don't even understand what's the point. Just taking on g6, I assume. But yeah, I went for g3. By the way, I was also thinking here, instead of queen b2, I was also thinking about g3 here with the double attack, but I somehow could not believe that this that this works for me. King g2 and the queen moves somewhere. My king is just so weak. Also, I think there was knight e2 there, and then he can sacrifice on g3. So I did not really believe in this for me. So yeah, I went for this and g3, queen f3, and now yeah, I didn't even realize at first how bad my position is. If I can manage to exchange queens, I'm somewhat surviving, but I'm just not fast enough. E takes d5, c takes d5, rook c1, and now he went for bishop d5, which is good enough. The computer suggests this move rook e8, which is, I think no one would find it. Bishop d5 is just so logical. Knight d5, rook d5, and I have to go for this endgame probably. Otherwise, I'm just getting mated, and this endgame is just totally lost, and I'm just quite lucky to have escaped this one here. Bishop d6, king g2, bishop c5. I thought rook d2 is even stronger, or maybe king f7 first. If the rook comes here and then bishop c5, I didn't even see what to do here. After bishop c5, rook c2, I was somewhat happy to guard the second rank. King f7, bishop b2, king e6, king f1. I thought this is more accurate than king f3 because now he has this with check. And as we will see in the game after king f1, he played rook d3 now, and now my idea was a5 to exchange this weak pawn. And yeah, if I play king f3 instead, then rook d3 check, king e2, rook b3, and now a5 doesn't work, I thought, because he can take here, but maybe actually I still have some chances in this pawn endgame as well, in this rook endgame. Anyway, the point was to not allow rook d3 with check. So this came, and now he went king d5, which I think here it really started to go wrong for him. Already before, actually, he could just play a5 himself when the pawn on a4 is just a long-term weakness. But here, the chance was for him to play g5. This was very important, because after king d5, what he played, ab6, ab6, now I play g5 myself, and I at least managed to exchange some pawns here. And if I manage to exchange the whole king side, then it's just a draw. He went rook f3. Now king g2, rook f5, takes, and now I think another important move, f4. Because I want to activate my king with f3, and then I'm already threatening g4, trapping the rook. So now he has to retreat with all of his forces, also to protect the pawn on f6. Rook e2 check, king f7, rook d2. Another important idea, not to let black activate his rook with rook d5. For example, king f3, I didn't like rook d5. So yeah, this happened in the game, and now he went g5, which I was very happy to see. I still thought bishop e7 is very unpleasant for me. Maybe I can hold a draw here, but it will be a very, very long suffering, and maybe I can bring the rook to b3 here. But then after, for example, f5, he probably doesn't even have to go f5, or I mean here b5 first. For example, b5, yeah, and if bishop c3, he has rook a3, which is probably already winning on the spot. And otherwise, just my point is king f3, f5. Now there are still many more pawns left on the board, which of course favors the attacking side in this case. Probably is winning for black. I don't know. King is coming in, looks really bad. But he went g5, now king f3 takes, and now I went g4. Even g takes f4 is now a draw. So yeah, this is the perfect example. If you're in such an endgame, being a pawn up, you should definitely keep as many more pawns on the board as possible, at least on the other flank in most cases. But I went for g4, which is also fine. Rook g5, king f4. And now I went for this g4 just because now his pawn is fixed on dark square and mine is fixed on the light square, which is usually the better thing in this same color bishop endgame. b5, king f3, bishop e7, rook d3, b4, and now rook d4. Yeah, my point is to stop rook c5, because now if rook c5, I have rook takes b4. And the other idea was often, I mean, I'm just preparing king e2 now and guarding the pawn d4. I thought it was in general pretty important for me to bring the king to the queen side, because anyway, this pawn is now guarded pretty well, and I need to stop this play here with the b pawn. I went for rook a5, king c4 now, rook e5, rook f4, rook e2, and yeah, I think after rook f4 is actually a forced draw, because now came my whole idea, rook e2, and now bishop takes f6, and this endgame is a theoretical draw. And my opponent tried it still a little bit for some time, but yeah, he did not get really far. usually there's one important idea which didn't even happen in the game. Let's just say black manages, what can he manage? So this is what happened. What is a good example position? Yeah, let's put some position like this on the board here. That's a good, let's put the rook even here. That's the only idea you need to know here. So this position you want to reach with white. You should not get it on with the king already here. Then it could be a very well lost. If the king is, for example, on c5 and this bishop would be on d5, or the king is on c4 and the bishop is on d4, then it's a problem. But here, the only idea is for black to go either king d6 or king d4. And whenever he goes into this direction, you need to go in the other direction. I learned this already some time ago, but this is actually pretty important. If you get this endgame, this is a very important idea. King a6, and when the bishop moves, now you want to break this whole control of the black's rook on this file, and the rook has to move, and now the king again can escape. So this is the important idea, and you can already guess what happens after king d6. Now you play king a4. So you always go in the other direction, and the same story here. If the bishop moves, now he wants to get bishop c5. Now you go rook b5, and again you seize control along the along this important file. But my opponent didn't even get that in the game. It was, yeah, he did not get that. He did not even manage to get my king to the 8th rank or to the side rank. I cannot even talk anymore. And yeah, here he offered a draw. I think it was actually here. Yeah, this was the final position. So obviously I'm pretty disappointed not to win the game, but on the other hand, I can be pretty happy as well not to lose the game, because my opponent played pretty well, and yeah, I did not really have a good day, I think. Maybe the opening choice wasn't good, but I mean, he played the position really good, even though he never even played this sort of opening. Yeah, so it was just really, yeah, surprising. But anyway, I'm gonna get some dinner now. It's already 9:30, and then I'll probably go to sleep soon. I'm already not feeling so well. I started coughing yesterday already as well, but I'm not like the other people in the playing hall that are not holding their hand before their mouth if they're sneezing and so on. So I hope it's gonna get better. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the first recap. I am looking forward to the rest of the event. I hope it will be better. Of course, drawing the first round is not great because the Buchholz will be somewhat messed up, but on the other hand, you will have easier pairings now in the first couple rounds, and I'm also not the only one of the favorites to have drawn the first game. I think Matirosyan, one of them, many 2600 plus players also drew their game, so it just happens, and yeah, nothing you can do. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And other than that, I will see you in the upcoming days. Take care, guys.